An atomic laboratory, giant metal darts, a real electric saw, or a fire-breathing gun. It seems that our parents had some pretty strange and not at all reassuring toys. Sit back and relax. Here are the toys that could kill children and have been thankfully banned from the market. It's your little brother's birthday, and he's asked you to buy him a toy he supposedly saw somewhere on the internet. You decide to take a picture and head to the first toy store you see on the way. There, you ask a salesman to tell you where you could find a toy named Splash Off Water Rocket. There, he tells you that this game has been out of existence for a long time and that it is an old picture. He explains that the Splash Off thingy had caused several accidents due to a manufacturing defect. These rockets, normally designed to be connected to a garden hose and to take off like normal rockets when filled with water, have exploded several times, injuring children who were playing with them. You are very surprised and you change your mind. You opt for a foosball table instead, even if it breaks your heart not to be able to bring your little brother what he wanted. But with this, at least you'll have a clearer conscience. You spend the day at your grandfather's house in the countryside, and this great hunting enthusiast takes advantage of your presence to invite you to come and see his beautiful collection of hunting guns. You accept with pleasure because it is such a rare thing to see real guns. You follow him into his barn, and there he brings out a few wonders, which he forbids you to touch at risk of scratching them. At the end of the range of guns, which are all as flashy as each other, you notice a tiny miniature metal gun. Intrigued, you ask him what it was used to hunt. Ants? Your grandfather tells you that it's the belt-buckle Derringer, a metal brass toy that contains small gray plastic bullets and shoots projectiles at a range of about 4.5 meters. He explains that this was his favorite toy when he was a kid and that it was this toy that sparked his passion for hunting. He might as well become a serial killer. You take it, examine it, and your grandfather immediately orders you to put it back, since it is just as dangerous as a normal rifle, which you do immediately. That's why it was recalled from the market. Who would have thought that one day a toy would give you cold sweats? In any case, you have only one desire, that of quickly leaving this gloomy place and of going to sip your tea of 4-H with Grandma while watching her making knitting. It is less exciting, certainly, but so much more calming. In any case, you now know a place you'll never set foot in again when you come back to visit your grandparents. You bought a new toy for your little nephew for his birthday, and this time you chose a nice game, ideal for the pool. And it's good because it's summer and he can enjoy it. You really want to please this little one. You buy it, then go offer it to him. When you unpack the box, his shocked father asks you to exchange the toy for something else. Surprised by his reaction, you ask him why. He tells you that the toy is very dangerous for children. What? This little plastic diving stick? Dangerous? He explains to you that in fact, this pack of 3 harmless-looking sticks can cause many drownings, especially for children who have just learned to swim. This pool diving and retrieval game consists of throwing 3 soft, flexible sticks into the water. Once filled with water, they get heavier and land at the bottom of the pool. The goal is for the child to go get them and to come back to the surface only after having recovered all 3. As you can imagine, not all children are good at free diving. Some may lose consciousness at the bottom of the water. Others may drown before they can get to the surface. And just the thought of bringing your nephew such a dangerous toy gives you the creeps. You should have finally opted for the PlayStation, a little more expensive, but safer. Now you know that you should be informed before buying any toy. What could be more exciting and innovative than an experiment lab to buy for your little one to keep him busy, learn new things, or to get rid of them? You have an adorable 10-year-old godson thirsty for knowledge, who never stops asking questions about anything and everything. Today is his birthday, and you want to give him a gift that will satisfy his desire to be a little scientist. You do a quick search on the net for nice gifts for little scientists, and you come across an article talking about old-fashioned science games that no longer exist today. You click on the one called The Atomic Energy Lab by Gilbert Company. If its name makes you think of a gas or cigarette factory, well, it's just like it. This little box was dedicated to little chemists who like to do new experiments. To make a long story short, it actually contained a mini nuclear power plant. Basically, it taught a child how to extract uranium, that nice little harmless substance that wouldn't hurt a fly, but also how to measure radioactivity and observe the decay of radioactive materials. But rest assured, the game didn't last long on the market because within a year of its release in the United States, in 1949, it was withdrawn, but not for the reasons you might think. The case was apparently too complicated to implement and a bit too expensive. You bet. It was $50, the equivalent of $300 today. You were so shocked to learn such things that you lose confidence and even change your mind. You now prefer to move on to a safer game, a skipping rope for exercise, or a Scrabble game to warm up your neurons. It's not so bad. In any case, you are more reassured now. Honestly, what an idea to go and buy a cannon for your little one to play with. You are the happy father of a 5-year-old boy, and you want to spoil him for Christmas. You are looking for a little bit on the internet, and you find an old second-hand cannon that a little grandpa wants to sell. He knows why. Interesting, but you still take the trouble to look for information on this object, and you learn that it is the Johnny Reb cannon, a toy from the 60s, measuring more than 70 centimeters, which would throw plastic missiles at more than 10 meters. By buying it, you take the risk of dropping the crystal vase that your mom gave you for your wedding, or of sending a ball and chain right into the eyes of his 1-year-old sister. You will certainly please your son, but your wife will make you regret it very quickly, believe me. You might as well go for a softer and new toy. Anyway, a 10-year-old child will never like to have an antique for Christmas. You've been warned. Now, you're in the backyard with your family, surrounded by a bunch of little ones running around and playing fight. How cute! Suddenly, you notice that one of your cousin's children, unlike the others, doesn't have a plastic gun, but a strange kind of gun. You decide to go and see what he has in his hand to be sure. When you take it in your hands, you notice that this object, shaped like a gun, looks like it came from the Stone Age. You ask the boy to tell you where he got it. He explains that it was his dad who found it at the garage sale last Sunday. He is even kind enough to tell you where the packaging is. You hurry to go see. And there you read the information of the one who was called the Austin Magic Pistol. And when you read the instructions, you are stunned. You learn that it is indeed a toy of the 50s, which sends small balls of fire composed of a small homemade chemical cocktail on 25 meters. The kid's dad has definitely made an explosive discovery. You are outraged to know that such a dangerous toy can still exist on Earth, but the father assures you that it is not functional today and that he has taken it by nostalgia. This relieves you. You give the gun back to the kid, but you are still a little puzzled. You even decide to leave the party earlier. You never know. You don't trust explosive mixtures too much. Today, your father has kindly asked you to come and help him empty the garage, which is collecting old things from prehistoric times. It's a good thing. Hunting is one of your great passions, so you decide to go and help him. Once you arrive, while your nose is drowned in dust and old tapes, you notice a huge black rectangular box. You don't know what it is, and you ask your patriarch what it is. He explains that it's a stereo, and that it was his favorite toy when he was a kid. This stereo was actually a real stereo with real speakers, but it didn't work. In fact, it was sold in kit form along with a capacitor, a 750 Hz resistor, and a 3000 amp vector oscilloscope. Let me tell you that sometimes there could be smoke. The game consisted in the 10-year-old child, let's emphasize, making a stereo work using all these strange machines while taking the risk of burning himself or electrocuting himself. But for a good cause all the same, to be able to listen to one of Sheila's famous hits from the yeah-yeah years. You think that to buy a toy as dangerous and complex as this for your son, your grandmother seriously needed peace and quiet. You then try to make the stereo work. Of course it doesn't work, because your father is not a techie. And you put the stereo back where you found it, disappointed not to be able to play a little Help of the Beatles. In any case, you who wanted to find a small antique, here is something to make your wallet happy. Now, let's go to your grandfather's house for the vacations where you've been slumped for a week in front of Netflix. Your grandfather, having noticed that you should change a little air, invites you to follow him to discover a wonder. You decide to follow him, although you are not very happy to leave your favorite series. You follow your grandfather, who has disappeared in the barn for a few minutes, and that's when you see him coming out with a little smile on his face and a strange box in his hands. You open it and discover a dozen giant darts. You think to yourself that you have grown up for this. Your grandfather then tells you that this was his favorite game as a child and that he kept it at home because, according to him, toys like this are not made anymore. And fortunately, and for good reason, these giant darts, unlike those of today, are made of metal, measure 30 centimeters each, and have a sharp point at the end instead of a small suction cup. The goal of the game is simple. No need to explain it to you. However, what you absolutely need to know is that these darts have caused more than 7,000 hospitalizations and 3 deaths in total. And your grandfather escaped, by the way. That's why you exist today. If you take the risk of playing with your grandfather, one of you may end up in the emergency room with serious injury. You wouldn't want your grandfather to die in his prime. You quickly close the box, then invite your grandfather to discover Netflix. You are sure he will love the new season of La Casa de Papel. You'll have avoided the worst and even kept your cozy little spot on the couch. So, what do you think of these amazing toys? Which one would you be tempted to get? Tell us what you think in the comments. And if you like this video, don't forget to give us a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the bell to get all the notifications and not miss anything from our upcoming videos.